The story of this state has been that your government, your leadership, and too many of your congressmen have allowed the government to rip you off and give your money to fraudsters. Just yesterday, we announced a Department of Justice lawsuit against the state Medicaid director of this state. This person was actually inviting fraudulent bidders to come in and take advantage of your tax dollars so that we could send it to fraudsters instead of you. You know what these fraudsters are doing? They are taking advantage of American generosity to enrich themselves, and we need somebody who's going to put them in jail and protect your money, and that's exactly what
We watch plenty of political speeches on this channel, campaign rallies, press conferences, and the usual promises that often lead nowhere. But this speech stood out for a completely different reason. According to its supporters, it directly challenged what they see as the political machine built by Chuck Schumer and his allies. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a closer look at a J.D. Vance speech that has been gaining a lot of attention online. Many people are sharing it because Vance traveled into New York and openly criticized the political establishment in a way that his supporters believe few politicians are willing to do. They argue that major media outlets have largely ignored these claims because they don't fit the prevailing narrative, while Schumer and his allies would rather this message receive as little attention as possible. Before we break everything down, one thing is clear: this speech has become a major talking point. Instead of relying on broad campaign rhetoric, Vance pointed to specific examples that he says demonstrate government waste and fraud involving taxpayer money. We'll watch the full clip first, then examine the arguments he makes, the evidence he presents, and why this speech has sparked such a strong reaction from both supporters and critics.
I'm going to think whether you agree with us on every issue. Of course, nobody's ever going to agree with us on every issue. One of the things I love about this district is it's full of independent people. Democrats who might vote for a Republican, independents who make up their own mind. My pitch to those Americans is not that you're always going to agree with the vice president or the president on every issue. My pitch to them is that you need to have somebody like Mike LaPretrie who's fighting for you. You need somebody who goes and doesn't trade stocks, but tries to get legislation passed that makes your life better. You need somebody who is not getting rich off the public trust, but is trying to make you rich with every single decision that he makes. That's Mike LaPretrie. Send Swazi packing. Send him somewhere else but Washington, D.C. And there's apparently one more thing that Swazi really likes. He likes fraud. Because unfortunately, the story of this state has been that your government, your leadership, and too many of your congressmen have allowed the government to rip you off and give your money to fraudsters. Just yesterday, we announced something. You know, I'm the leader of the Fraud Task Force. And people ask me, is it hard to find fraud? And I'll tell them it's not hard to find fraud in the U.S. federal government. Unfortunately, it's hard to root it out. It's hard to fight against it, but it is not hard to find fraud. Just yesterday, we announced a Department of Justice lawsuit against the state Medicaid director of this state. So here's what the state Medicaid director in New York would do. Facilitated fraud by using a sham bidding process. This person was actually inviting fraudulent bidders to come in and take advantage of your tax dollars so that we could send it to fraudsters instead of you. And that's disgraceful. You do not want your government facilitating fraud. You want your government fighting against fraud. And one of the things that I love about Mike LaPretrie is that he cares about this fraud issue just as much as I do. He happens to believe in an old-fashioned good government concept that when you pay your taxes, it ought to go to the services and the national security needs that it's meant to go towards, it shouldn't go to fraudsters. It shouldn't go to fraudsters who take advantage of your tax dollars. It shouldn't go to fraudsters who will literally steal money out of the Medicaid fund in order to enrich themselves. It shouldn't go to people who would steal food out of the mouths of poor children. It should go to the people who need it. One of the things I love about our country, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are generous people. When we see a kid who can't afford food, sometimes my family growing up would benefit from these programs. When we see a kid who can't afford food, we say, you know what? We're going to help you. When we see a person who has a treatable illness but can't afford medical care, you say, you know what? We're going to help you. Whether it's the Medicaid program or a local charity. You know what these fraudsters are doing? They are taking advantage of American generosity to enrich themselves, and we need somebody who's going to put them in jail and protect your money, and that's exactly what we're doing under the administration. And that's where I want to take a break here and leave you all. And I just want to say, first of all, this is an amazing place, an amazing district. Driving around here, this is your home. And you love it because it's your home. You love it because of its beauty. I mean, this is just, I've always loved Long Island. I've always loved the culture. I've always loved the accents. Your accents are a little bit different than mine back in Ohio. That's right. But here's the thing I love most about this district is you love this country as much as I do. And what makes America a great country, it's not politicians, it's not public policy, it's you all. It's America's people. But what you need in Washington, D.C. is people who make your life easier. Nobody in Washington is going to fix all your problems. Nobody in Washington is going to solve everything that's wrong in the United States of America. We're going to do that together as an American community working together. But you know what's not going to help you? When fraudsters are taking advantage of your money, and that's what Swazi has voted to protect. You know what's not going to help you? When people raise your taxes, when they take your hard-earned money and give it to those fraudsters. And that's what Swazi has voted for every step of the way. You know, I grew up in a family where I couldn't afford personal security. We barely had enough money to put food on the table some months. But you know what we did have? We had public safety. We had safe neighborhoods. Because everybody, Democrat and Republican, agreed that whether you were rich or poor, you deserved to be able to walk down the streets with safety and security. Don't we want that for every kid in America, rich or poor, black or white? We believe that you shouldn't have to get rich off of Tom Swazi stock trades before you have access to public safety. It is the birthright of every man, woman, and child in this country. So when you go to the polls, look, ladies and gentlemen, I know this is a diverse district. You guys have got a whole host of opinions, and I love that about you. I'm not asking you to vote for us. I'm not asking you to vote for Mike LaPetri because you're going to agree on every single issue. I'm asking you to vote for him because unlike Swazi, he's going to fight for you. Unlike Swazi, he's going to lower your taxes. Unlike Swazi, he's going to help our police throw those bad guys in prison so you can walk down the street in safety. And unlike Swazi, he is going to fight for every man, woman, and child of this district. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great country. All we need to do to protect it is to stop sending crazy people to Washington, D.C. So from one vice president to the people of the New York's 3rd Congressional District, what I'm asking you is to kick crazy Tom Swazi the hell out of Washington. Send us somebody we can work with, and Mike LaPetri. Thank you all.
Seriously, what did you all think of that? If that speech got your attention, let me know in the comments, because there's a lot to unpack. In my view, this wasn't just a speech about New York. It was a broader argument about how J.D. Vance believes government is being run across the country. One of the biggest issues he focused on was Medicaid fraud. His argument was that when government officials fail to prevent fraud, or worse, create opportunities for it, the problem isn't simply poor management, but a system that rewards waste and corruption. Vance tied that criticism to Chuck Schumer and longtime Democratic leadership, arguing they've spent decades expanding government programs without ensuring taxpayer money is being protected. Whether you agree with him or not, that's the central case he was making. He also touched on something many Americans can relate to: the cost of living. Families are working long hours just to keep up with rising expenses, and people naturally want confidence that their tax dollars are being used responsibly. Vance argued that Americans are generally willing to help those who truly need assistance, but they expect accountability and transparency instead of fraud, abuse, or political favoritism. Another point he emphasized was the contrast between different candidates. He criticized Tom Suozzi, suggesting some career politicians have benefited personally while serving in office, and contrasted him with Mike LePetri, whom he described as someone focused on public service rather than personal financial gain. That comparison was clearly intended to highlight the kind of leadership Vance says voters should support. Public safety was another major theme. Vance argued that every American, regardless of income, race, or neighborhood, deserves to feel safe where they live. He criticized what he described as soft-on-crime policies and said elected officials often don't experience the same public safety concerns as ordinary citizens because they have additional security. His message was straightforward: support law enforcement, prosecute violent offenders, and prioritize safer communities. More broadly, Vance's appeal seems to come from his communication style. Rather than sounding like a traditional Washington politician, he presents himself as someone speaking plainly about problems he believes career politicians have ignored. Supporters see that as refreshing, while critics see it differently, but it's clearly a major part of his political brand. Now it's your turn. Do you think J.D. Vance made a compelling case against the political establishment, or do you think his arguments missed the bigger picture? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more political analysis, and share it with others who want to join the discussion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.